Thanks for your patience.
And I said, Aaron, this is Afghanistan, so nothing's ever easy.
This is Paw Print, an animal rescue community. Episode 7. I'm Harold Ree.
I'm Nancy Ree.
Today's guest is the incredible Penn Farthing and his rescue organization called Nowzad Dogs in Afghanistan.
I first learned about Penn Farthing from reading CNN. Every year, CNN nominates heroes around the world.
Penn Farthing was not only nominated as a 2014 CNN hero, that year, he won the CNN Hero of the Year.
So Penn Farthing has an amazing story of founding an animal rescue organization in Afghanistan.
While he was there as a Royal Marine, he discovered a huge population of dogs in need. He has an incredible story, and if you want to learn more about Penn Farthing and Nowzad Dogs, go to our show notes at thisispawprint.com/7. That's the number 7.
Well, I'm a former Royal Marine Commando from Britain who now runs an animal welfare shelter and small animal clinic in Kabul, Afghanistan.
The first question is, where are you from and how did you get to Afghanistan?
When I grew up, I'd always wanted to join the military, and so I ended up joining the Royal Marines and ended up serving in Iraq and a few other places around the world till finally they decided to send me to Afghanistan.
We like to ask our guests a whimsical question about if you could be any animal, what would that be and why?
Oh, wow, good question. If I could be any animal, I think it'd have to be a monkey. My passion is climbing. I can be found climbing up mountains, so I think being a monkey, because obviously my climbing actually isn't that good, and monkeys obviously being renowned for climbing, so yeah, I think a monkey.
Aspirational, okay. How I found out about you was watching the 2014 CNN Hero Award. Tell us, starting with the dogfight you broke up in Afghanistan, and that led to your founding this animal shelter called Nowzad.
Yeah, I mean, when I was serving in Afghanistan, I wasn't here to rescue dogs.
Right.
Obviously, I was here to do the job, of a Royal Marine, and we're in a small forward operating base deep in Helmand province. The Afghan police, to entertain themselves, they would hold dogfights. And sadly, amongst a minority of the population here in Afghanistan, dogfighting is a popular activity. And I wasn't here, obviously, to watch animal cruelty. So whilst they held one of these dogfights, I actually broke it up. Our guns were bigger than theirs. So we stopped the dogfight. And I thought that was it. I didn't realise one of those dogs would then run off into our compound. And that's where I found him. And in my attempts to just try and get him out of I was worried about safety. The simple fact that, this dog was a fighting dog and I was worried it might bite one of my Marines. But in my attempts to get it out of the compound, me and him actually became buddies. And so I'd just sit with him, trying to coax him out with biscuits. He realised clearly I had biscuits, so I might be a good guy. And we just became buddies, and I could spend 5 minutes with him and pretend I wasn't in Afghanistan. And so I named him Nowzad after the town. Yeah, that's how it all started, really.
You didn't found this shelter right away. You went back to England. It was interesting that you were in a supermarket one day and you realized the disconnect between your life in Afghanistan and then suddenly shopping in a supermarket. That kind of led you back to start this shelter in Afghanistan.
I think a lot of people who have served in Afghanistan, a lot of military people, have the same kind of feelings I do. That, I was one day we were being mortared in Nowzad. We then had a flight home, and 24 hours later I'm stood in a supermarket back home in England.
Yeah.
And it's just so surreal. You're just thinking, well, hang on, yesterday I was being mortared and shot at, and today I'm shopping for groceries.
Yeah.
And everybody around you just, they don't have a clue, really. That's what you feel. There's a good clip in, I don't know if you've seen the film American Sniper, but there's a good clip in that when he actually comes home. For me, that was the same thing, and I just couldn't stop thinking about Afghanistan and the people, and I just thought, well, hang on, what can I do to make a difference? And obviously my passion for looking after dogs, cats, animals has a real impact here in Afghanistan because they have a massive problem with rabies. So I thought, well, hang on, if we can actually humanely look after the dogs and cats, vaccinate them, neuter them, then we can actually help the people fight against rabies.
I understand the award money you got from the CNN Hero Award mostly went to the vaccinations because there's a real problem with children being bitten by dogs there.
Yeah, one of the things we do, and the money from CNN was absolutely fabulous in aiding that. is all the vaccinations that we use here in Afghanistan have to be paid for. So vaccines from Dubai, have them shipped in here to Afghanistan. And then if anybody here, we have lots of Afghans who actually own dogs themselves now. Owning a dog is becoming popular again amongst the Afghan people. So we offer all our vaccinations for free. We don't charge for rabies vaccines. So obviously the CNN money and all the money we've had since, and all the fabulous people who've donated to help us, are helping really, one, the animals, and two, the people. They're making a big difference here in Afghanistan.
Tell us, how did that CNN Hero Award all come about? Who nominated you? I'm sure you didn't expect to win. The whole thing must have been so surreal.
Yeah, we totally never expected that I was going to win the thing. The other 9 nominees, the top 10 CNN heroes, just absolutely amazing people.
Right.
You had a rabbi there who was fighting cancer. You had a guy who was helping disabled people with, getting back to fitness, all sorts. And it was just amazing to be amongst them. So, we really didn't think that I'd win. So I was actually called out first to go up and just obviously receive my award for being in the top 10. And then I just sat back, really enjoyed the free wine because I thought there's no chance to win. So I'll just enjoy the show.
And you were introduced by none other than Benedict Cumberbatch, who's pretty hot right now.
Yeah, that was pretty special to have him introduce me. I was quite shocked to that. So, it was a fabulous evening. And at the end, being told that we'd actually won it was just amazing. It was a super end to 2014. It was fantastic.
The publicity from that, was it all positive?
As yet, we haven't had any negative publicity from it. It was absolutely fantastic. We've had lots of American schools get in touch with us, and I've Skyped quite a few school assemblies now, which has been brilliant, seeing all the kids, talking to them about obviously what we do here in Afghanistan. So I just wish I could spend a bit more time in America publicising the work we do, but clearly, people now expect, and we need to be spending more time here actually putting these things into practice. So
you don't just rescue dogs in Afghanistan, but you arrange for soldiers to be reunited with their dogs. Just
like I was with that dog called Nowzad. At the end of the tour, I didn't want to just leave him behind. I hatched a plan to try and get him from where we were in Helmand province up to Kabul, and then from Kabul on a flight to London and into quarantine. And I'd actually thought I was kind of unique, and I was the only person who had been looking after a dog on the front lines, but I wasn't. There was American soldiers, Canadians, Australians, from all over who had been serving Afghanistan, who had basically started looking after a dog or a cat to try and find something positive out of the tour of duty. So as soon as they heard that I'd managed to get Nowzad out, we started being, inundated with calls and emails from other soldiers who wanted to know how it was done. So to date now, the charity's actually helped over 850 soldiers from around the world who've served in Afghanistan to actually be reunited with their dog and cat they've adopted on the front lines here in Afghanistan.
Can you explain logistically what is involved? Is it military transport? Do you use a commercial airliner to transport the dog? Is it quite a nightmare?
It can be quite logistically challenging, yes. We can't use the military. The military won't support us in that way. So everything we do has to be commercial or civilianized. So the animals get to our shelter here in Kabul. They're vaccinated. We neuter or spay every animal. That's part of the deal. We don't need any more puppies or anything in America or England. And then from there, we actually fundraise. So we start fundraising. We've got an amazing family of supporters out there for Nowzad who help us raise the money to get that animal from Kabul to wherever the soldier comes from. So whether it be America, England, Australia, Canada, etc. And that can take anything up to like 3 months to raise those funds, and obviously vaccinations, etc., to be processed and be delivered. So it works, but it can be logistically challenging at times.
The commercial airliners, they don't give you a break or anything, or do they?
Sadly, no. We keep trying. We don't have enough PR yet, I think, to generate their interest in giving us discounts.
You can't go in there and say, I'm a CNN hero.
We have tried it, but no, they won't buy.
Now, one story that I'd like to hear, I can't hear enough of, is there was this one family a particular soldier whose dog the family wanted.
Yeah, that's our most poignant rescue we've ever done to date. The soldier was Private Conrad Louis of the Parachute Regiment, a British soldier. He was serving in Helmand province. He was actually on a gap year from university. So where most people go off, and go partying on their gap year and see the world, he actually decided to serve his country and join up. So he was in Afghanistan, and he was looking after a dog called Peg. And little Peg, this little brown female dog, she was his moment of positiveness, in obviously what was quite a depressing tour of duty. And we got a phone call from a guy called Tony. It turned out Tony was Conrad's father, and he told us all about Peg, and he said, how do we rescue this dog and everything? Because I know that's what my son would want. And then he dropped the bombshell that his son had been killed in action just 2 weeks earlier. And so for us, without even really thinking about it, we just said, yep, right, we'll get this dog for you.
Yeah.
And then once I put the phone down, it was like, hang on a minute, how the heck do we get this dog out of Helmand province? We don't even know if the soldiers are still looking after. And clearly the point of contact, who was the son, is obviously sadly no longer with us. So it took some doing. We had to call in a few favours, but eventually we got Peg up to Kabul. And from there, then once she'd had her vaccinations fundraised, we then got her back to England and she went into quarantine. And I actually saw her just about, I think it was about 5 weeks ago. We actually went up and saw Tony and his family and met Peg and said hello and that. And she's just a cracking little dog. And for obviously the family, she's a constant reminder of the compassion their son showed while he was fighting in Afghanistan. So, yeah.
Wow. And the other thing is you have females working for you, female vets over there at Nowzad?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, we're really proud to say we have the first ever 2 female Afghan nationals who are trained as veterinarians. They've been with us now for nearly 3 years now. And they can carry out, obviously some of the most complicated surgeries that we do here, the neuters, the spays. Sadly, we do a lot of amputations for dogs that are hit by cars. They're absolutely fabulous to see them. The first, I hope will be many, Afghan women who are taking up veterinary.
So they were trained after they started working there, or were they vets before they started working at Nowzad?
The security that American troops has provided in Afghanistan, a lot of people ask me about, what was the point of, Westerners being in Afghanistan? And if it hadn't been for American soldiers being on the ground here, then places like Kabul would not have had the security that these young girls could have actually gone to school, then to university, and then they went to veterinary university here in Kabul. So we employed them once they'd actually finished their veterinary studies, a few months when they came to work for us. And since then, we've had some fabulous support from Western vets who've travelled out here to actually teach and train them.
What are your plans for 2016? What are some of your goals that you want to accomplish this year?
We have 2 main goals here in Afghanistan. The first one is actually trying to really expand our Trap, Vaccinate, Neuter, Release program. So really get stuck into the stray dogs that are out on the streets in Kabul. Even with the fabulous win we had at CNN and obviously the funds they gave us, it's nowhere near enough to implement a project, on the scale we need to. It's so far removed from obviously all the facilities that we'd have in the West. So one, we'd really like to do that. And 2, we want to really push our education program, and actually get animal welfare into the school curriculum here in Afghanistan. So they're the 2 things out here. And then over in the States, we just need to, push and let people know, about the positive stuff that is going on in Afghanistan. Sadly, a lot of the news feeds that we see back home always just deal with the negative side of it. And there's some absolutely fabulous Afghan people. We've got some really good Afghan friends. Our staff are just amazing, and people don't see that side of it. These people don't want to be Taliban, they don't want to be Al-Qaeda, they don't want to be ISIS, they just want to be Afghan and, look after their families, get jobs, watch the Afghan football team, watch some cricket, and just have a normal life that we kind of take for granted over in the West. So they're the kind of things that I really want to push during 2016.
You spend an awful lot of time in Afghanistan. The gentleman who sort of introduced us to you, Bud, in California, he spent some time in Afghanistan. What would you estimate the number of Westerners who do spend quite a bit of time in Afghanistan?
I don't know, really. To be brutally honest, I wouldn't know a figure, and I wouldn't like to guess one. There is a strong expat community here in Kabul. There's lots of groups that get together. You have individuals, and small numbers like us here at Nowzad. You have other groups that work with the orphaned children, the widowed women. Kabul has its own Rotary Club that's made up mostly of Americans and Brits. There's even Hash House Harriers. They go for a run every Friday around Kabul. a completely crazy bunch of expats. So, there is a strong community out here that, are all working basically for NGOs or organisations that are trying to make a difference in Afghanistan, rather than, people assume that most Westerners over here are into, security or something. It's not actually the case.
Gotcha.
A lot of people trying to do good here.
To what degree are you working with local families? To what degree do you still work internationally?
Yeah, I mean, we still push our local adoptions here. We still have Afghan families adopt from us. But we sometimes do get animals, particularly dogs, who are more westernized. They might have been looked after by a Western contractor out here or an American soldier who sadly can't actually take the animal. So we then do try and look to the West to find those dogs' homes. And we've just had actually one left yesterday for England, a little dog called Barfi, which is Afghan for snow, because it was a little white thing. That's now destined for the UK, and it's in transit at the moment. And I'm hoping tomorrow it should arrive in England to meet its new owner.
Oh, no kidding.
Absolutely loves the dog, just loves people. Always wants to be around people, so it wouldn't really be ideal to adopt that to an Afghan family here.
Right. You've already written 3 books. Has it been more than that, actually, or?
No, 3 books. Yeah, One Dog at a Time, No Place Like Home, and Wylie.
How did you even get into writing? What do you enjoy about that process?
I'd always wanted to write. I loved, doing English at school, and actually, writing the short stories we were given as homework. I actually really enjoyed that. But then, obviously, as I got older, I realised that to write a book, you actually had to have a decent subject to write it about. And I had anything that was up to the task, really. But when I originally rescued Nowzad, that first dog, and the epic of trying to get him out of Helmand and back home, that kind of was the inspiration and the starting point for me to then write down that actual epic story and how it all happened. And I really enjoyed writing it. I sent off a few chapters to a publisher in London, not really thinking that they'd pick up on it, but I got an email straight back saying, "We love it. Do you have any more of this?"
No kidding. Great.
That's how it started. So actually, One Dog at a Time was the first book, and that described how Nowzad, that dog, got from where he was and to London, and then No Place Like Home followed up with the story of having a former Afghan fighting dog that's not house trained living in England, whilst also trying to start up a non-profit to make a difference here in Afghanistan.
Tell us a little bit about Wylie. Unlike Nowzad, Wylie is not really your dog, belongs to somebody else, but kind of a fascinating story.
Yeah, Wylie was a dog, just a stray dog down in Kandahar. Basically kept getting himself in trouble. He sadly had his ears and tail removed, and he was kind of looked after by some Australian soldiers, but they didn't have him around at night. He'd come in during the day, get fed, be made a fuss of, and then he'd disappear off out at night. But he started coming back in with more and more injuries, sadly from probably dog fighting or actual abuse from locals who didn't like dogs. And each time the Australian soldiers would patch him up, and then he'd wander off again. And eventually he came in so injured that they were like, right, we can't just send this dog back out again. But throughout it all, his temperament was just amazing. Even while they were trying to stitch him up without anaesthetics, they didn't have any. He wasn't, trying to bite them or fight. He kind of like he'd resigned himself to the fact he needed to be patched up, and these were good people doing it.
Wow.
So they got hold of us and asked us to get Wylie up to Kabul to our shelter, and from there try and get him back to Australia. But sadly, Australian import regulations are even stricter than Britain, so our only option was to get him to England, undergo quarantine in England, and then find him a home. And the home we found him, the lady there called Sarah, actually decided to enter him into the biggest dog show in the world, Crufts, and he only went and won it. So
amazing.
It was us as a charity that this former scraggly street dog from Kandahar actually won the biggest dog show in the world in England. So absolutely amazing.
What is Sarah Singleton's background?
Sarah, she does a lot of work with horses, loves dogs.
Sarah Singleton, she isn't really a dog trainer by trade.
Yeah, definitely not a professional dog trainer, just loves dogs.
Unbelievable. Wow.
Her passion for the animals and being around them and working with them, and it's just absolutely fabulous.
The competition that he won, was it agility?
It was a series of events that she had to go through over several months. The dogs were judged on obviously their looks, their temperament, obviously, you know, their story. And so, yeah, she had to go through an extensive panel of, you know, world-class dog judging before she actually got to the final. So she travelled, I think, for nearly 5 different places around the country for these events. So before she actually made it to the final, each one was, you know, a knockout. So, yeah.
That's outstanding.
Yeah.
You've told us a little bit about your childhood. Any kind of other significant childhood events, whether with animals or without?
My dad had a dog when I was little, so I think that's where my, you know, enjoyment from owning a dog came from. But then when I joined the Marines, I couldn't have an animal because clearly we're, you know, being deployed and living on a military base. You know, that's just not possible. So for me, it was, you know, just the fact my family had instilled in me, you know, the fact of animal welfare and, you know, be kind to animals. So I just took that with me. So wherever I went, if we ever saw a stray animal or dog, I'd try and leave some food out for it. But, you know, I never ever envisaged for 1 minute that, you know, I'd end up running an animal welfare organisation in Afghanistan, of all places. You know, I thought I was going to be off. My passion is climbing, mountaineering. So I'm a, you know, qualified mountain guide. So I thought I was going to be off, you know, climbing in the mountains and, you know, spending my life teaching, you know, climbing, not doing this over here.
But before you joined the Royal Marines, what was your travel experience up to that point?
I travelled around a fair bit, obviously originally on family holidays and then myself, you know, with friends, but I joined the Marines at 18. So once I joined the Marines, then they sent me quite a lot of places and paid for it, which is very nice of them. But then on my leave periods, I'd go off climbing. So I spent quite a bit of my leave periods, you know, around the world, different places, Kyrgyzstan, Hong Kong, France, Germany, you know, all around Europe, and especially a lot of climbing in Canada and America. So I used my climbing passion to actually see a lot of the world. Any
places that really made an impact on you or really impacted your memory?
I loved Kyrgyzstan. We climbed on the Kyrgyzstan-Chinese border. That was a 3-week expedition, which was absolutely fabulous, just being out on our own, just climbing and coming back to our tent every night. That was completely in the middle of nowhere. They're the kind of experiences I absolutely love, you know, just being out where basically other people don't really visit or haven't been.
Going back to your work, you know, you do something that probably a very small number of people, maybe even in the whole world, would be willing to do, which is to fight for animals, animal health, but not really in your home country, but really in a place that's your new home. What keeps you going? What keeps you inspired and energized?
I'm really fortunate. My girlfriend, Hannah, she's as passionate about this as I am. So, and she travels out here to Afghanistan as well. She's actually only just left. She's just gone back to UK now, but we've just spent Christmas and New Year out here with what we call our adopted Afghan family. Yeah, the staff absolutely love the fact that, you know, we're here with them. And I think it's that. It's, you know, it's the passion that I see from the Afghan people, you know, and, you know, especially our staff. You know, they're here every single day. They don't have the option to run away to, you know, the safety of the West if things get a little bit hairy out here. And they're still here for the animals. You know, each day they come in, they look after them, and it's great when I catch them, you know, playing with an animal. They don't realise that I'm watching, and I see them out there making a fuss at one of the dogs. Yeah, and the fact, like I said, to have Hannah out here with me, you know, doing this is just, you know, absolutely amazing. And for me, that's what kind of inspires me to keep on going. I don't think too much about the fact that, you know, it's not England or America. It's just the country I happen to end up in, and the animals are here, and we're trying to make a difference, you know. For me, that's what it's all about. It's just, you know, right, we're making a difference, so let's keep doing it.
Anybody else in your family have the travel bug, or?
Yeah, my mum, sad my dad died a long time ago now, but my mum, she's always travelling. As we speak now, she's off somewhere in the world, and I really should know where, but I've completely forgotten where she is.
Wow.
Yeah, she's even travelled out here to Afghanistan. She wanted to see what I was up to. So last summer, she actually came out to Kabul for a few days to see what all the fuss was about, and she absolutely loved it. So and one of our Afghan staff here has now adopted my mum as his English mother.
Oh.
So she's now got an Afghan son as well. So, yeah, she loved it. She just loved meeting the people, you know, and experiencing the Afghan culture.
That's beautiful.
It's great to see her out here.
In animal rescue, I definitely notice it here in the United States, but people do end up mentioning this topic, which we just simply call compassion fatigue. We all sacrifice so much, whether it's time, energy, even our relationships sometimes, to really take care of animals, that sometimes it can lead to a sort of burnout. Have you seen that, whether it's in your work or in others? How do you try to deal with it?
Yeah, I mean, we do. Yeah, we're very aware of that. Yeah, the simple fact that you just feel that you can't stop. You know, the second that you aren't doing the job, you know, looking after the animals or trying to get the money or you're trying to find them homes, etc., you feel you're going to lose one and then you've failed. And you know, yeah, we've seen that a lot. And something now I'm having to really concentrate and actually make an effort to actually have time away from this. And while I'm in Kabul, I've built myself a little gym, so that means, you know, without fail every night making time to go and hit the gym, you know, and try and lose myself in there for an hour. And like I said, I'm really fortunate in the fact that, you know, Hannah is as passionate about this as I am. So, yeah, we get to spend time together when we're out here. We've planned, because we haven't had one for a while now, but we have planned that this year we are taking a 2-week break somewhere.
All right.
We're going to try and turn our email and phones off and just actually go and travel to some place we've never been. So that, you know, and I strongly hear people say to us, you know, that's what you've got to do. And, you know, for all those other people out there who are doing, you know, animal rescue and stuff, and I know it's incredibly hard to do. I mean, I'm looking at my inbox now as I speak to you, and, you know, the emails are coming in. I'm thinking, damn, I'm not replying to these. But you've really got to just, even if it's just for a night, you know, go out, have a beer, have something to eat, go and see friends. Just do something that doesn't involve your email or animal rescue, and then you'll come back so much fresher the next day. So, yeah, that's something I'm really trying to enforce on myself and highly recommend for others to do.
That's great. Let's say someone listens to this podcast and says, you know what, I want to get in touch with Penn Farthing, and I want to volunteer for 2 weeks in Afghanistan. Is that something that's realistic? Is that something that you can handle?
If you'd asked me this question last summer, I'd have said yes, absolutely brilliant. You know, let's get some volunteers out here. Sadly, at the moment, though, the security is deteriorating rapidly. Just in the last few days now, we've had 7 attacks, not clearly aimed at us, but, you know, at the coalition forces that are here in Afghanistan. And so it is becoming incredibly dangerous. And so we just couldn't justify at the moment now bringing any other Westerners out here because, one, we couldn't guarantee their safety, and 2, they'd probably actually draw more attention to what we do. So really what we're after now from people volunteering is to actually help us raise awareness, raise the funds, and then we'll let the Afghan staff here do obviously that, you know, that sharp end work and, you know, care for the animals. You know, we need fosters in the US, we need people organising events, we need people, you know, sorting out donations for us. And that's how they can make a real difference to, you know, the animals here in Afghanistan. And then I'm hoping, you know, the security situation will come back down to normal, and then maybe in the future we can actually get people out here visiting us and seeing what we do.
All right. Well, that leads me to my next question, which is, what's the best way for people to help out then? Whether it's your social media, your website, any ways to donate or fundraise for you?
Yeah, I mean, you were kind enough to mention, obviously, my books. If people want to, you know, read more about what we do and get a feel for it, and also help the charity, then they can buy one of those 3 books you mentioned, One Dog at a Time, No Place Like Home, or Wylie.
Oh.
The funds from those books go into doing, you know, helping what we do out here in Afghanistan. So they get to read a book and help us out here. You know, follow us on Twitter. You know, my Twitter handle is @PennFarthing. You know, and then retweet, post, you know, go onto our Facebook page, you know, facebook.com/Nowzad, and, you know, join in with the Nowzad family and, you know, help. And even if people can't donate, I know money is tight these days, so just tweet us, post, you know, let other people know about the work we do, you know, because the more people we get on social media, the more we can then maybe approach these airlines and say, look, you know, we've got X number of followers. Give us a discount for our flights for these animals, and all these people are going to now fly with you next year. You know, things like that really can make a difference. You know, it's amazing, so the power of social media. So we just need folks out there helping us to do that. And lastly, I'd love to see it if more people can help us organise events, because being British, we struggle to get people across in the States, on board with us because I'm not always over there. So we do need people who can organise events for us to try and let people know what we're doing here in Afghanistan.
That's great. Can you mention maybe, if you can think of an example, examples of when people have gotten together to really spread your cause? Any successful events that you can think of?
Yeah, we've had some fabulous events where we do a Walk to Nowzad event each year. It's will be happening in the autumn time of 2016, where basically we ask people to organise a dog walk.
Oh.
And what we're trying to do is get enough people walking that if we added all the miles together they've walked with their dogs on that certain day, we could actually walk from our base in the UK back to Nowzad in Helmand, a distance of over 3,000 miles. So we need at least 3,000 people walking 1 mile each on that certain day. Basically, we ask them to register. It costs $15, that's all. They get a nice T-shirt and a little sponsor pack, and then they go out and walk with their dog and let other people know, and if they can, raise obviously more money along the way. And it's just fabulous on that certain day of the year that we've got all these different people walking with their own dogs in their own hometowns, but making a difference for Nowzad in Afghanistan.
Right.
So just things like that, just people getting together and actually getting all their friends and family together and going out and having a jolly old walk for the day.
Walk for Nowzad or walk to Nowzad?
Walk to Nowzad, yes.
Okay, excellent. So yeah, we're going to have to, this might become my little pet project for the year then. Okay.
That'd be absolutely fabulous. We would love to have you on board with that.
Okay. What other advice can you offer to folks who are either curious about animal rescue, really want to get involved?
What I've learned over the last 5 years now doing this in Afghanistan is people always think that, to be into animal welfare, you've got to be right in amongst it, and rescuing those dogs off the street or, being in there feeding them and caring for them. And, it's not necessarily true. As I said, what a lot of animal charities really struggle with is the actual behind the scenes, the admin. And I know from myself, when I first started, I was very passionate about it and thought, being a former Marine, I'll just get stuck in and we'll build kennels and we'll, look after dogs and we'll feed them. But I lacked the knowledge and the experience and just the general skills of the background stuff, the websites, the how to get donors, all that kind of thing. And so I think people can really make a difference by actually volunteering their time to help these organisations, and especially in America. People think Afghanistan's got a stray dog problem. America's got just the same problem. So to actually make a difference by offering those skills that maybe the rescue shelters that don't actually have, and that's what they really need. And all it takes is a couple of hours a week of helping on a website or helping on a Facebook page that can make a real difference for that struggling shelter.
Thanks to Penn Farthing for sharing his story. If you're inspired by his story and his organization Nowzad Dogs and would like to donate, go to our show notes at thisispawprint.com/7. You can find links to his website and other resources related to Penn. If you want to learn more about me and Nancy, you can find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Our handle is thisispawprint. If you enjoyed today's episode, leave us a review on our iTunes page. Find that at thisispawprint.com/iTunes. We want to say thank you to so many of our listeners out there for inspiring us with your stories of saving animals' lives. Have a great day, everybody. See you next time on Pawprint.
Pawprint is a production of EVER Education.
You can't handle the truth!
Woohoo!